NSE performance, and this is of course how the markets closed off, and not much movement on the NSE 20 share index compared to what we did see on Monday. Well, let's move on to the next slide where we have the most active stocks. Well, Safaricom topping the charts. They've moved 15.26 million worth of shares. Equity Bank moving 3.65 million. Kenya Commercial Bank moving 1.64 million shares, and the Nairobi Securities Exchange moving 1.2 million. Well, the banking sector stocks continue to defy market expectations, as you can see there, as they continue to post some very impressive moves. Well, let's take a look at the winning counters as of now. We have Flametree Group. The stock is up 10%, and its valuation is at 3 shillings and 85 cents. Olympia Capital up 7.14%, share price at 3 shillings. TransCentury is up 6.33%, valuation of 4 shillings and 20 cents. Standard Group Limited is also doing well. It's up 4.42, and the stock is valued just under 30 shillings, shy by 50 cents. Well, a lot of movements there on the winning counters. Let's wrap up with a look at the losing stocks as of this hour. Well, we have Umeme Limited. The stock is down 9.9%. Nairobi Business Ventures down 7.89%. Scan Group is down 6.59%. And closing off, we have Mumias Sugar. The stock is down 6.25%, and with a valuation of just under a shilling actually. It's at 0.75 cents. Well, the sugar sector, of course, continues to dominate headlines across the country, and it's one of the top stories we will definitely be giving you the latest on. Well, let's take you now to some of the top stories in the business world. And as Kenya celebrates the 10th anniversary of the Vision 2030, the country continues to make major steps towards the realization of its goals. Well, though the GDP growth per annum is yet to breach the targeted 10% annual growth rate, a lot can be said about the quality of growth and the impact on lives of many Kenyans.
A journey of economic transformation that would eventually be called Vision 2030, born on the back of an economy which had seen decades of decline and, in some instances, stagnation. It was a blueprint that sought to put in place an economic recovery plan for employment and wealth creation. Today, we have just started on the third medium-term plan of this, which all make up and feed into the vision. Fairly good progress was made in implementing the first two phases.
We want to acknowledge that Vision 2030, although has been implemented for 10 years alone, we substantially benefited from the economic recovery strategy for wealth and employment creation that was implemented for 5 years. It laid a solid foundation. We didn't need to dig the foundation, it's just build on it.
Economic growth is only possible with the framework of the presence of key enablers. Amongst the key enablers highlighted are growth in roads that are tarmacked or motorable, the number of electricity connections, ICT penetration, and the growth in throughput through the port of Mombasa. Despite the notable progress, a lot still remains to be done, with businesses highlighting the need for more infrastructure, especially to the last mile. Also of concern is the lack of market-driven skills, with the education sector currently struggling to produce more market-led vocation training courses so as to bridge this deficit.
We need a critical mass of engineers. We are planning to industrialize as a country. How will we industrialize if we don't have critical mass of engineers and innovators?
With Kenya's poor saving culture, a dearth of national savings combined with a shallow depth of Kenyans' long-term funding through pensions and insurance means that the country has had to borrow to finance this progress. This debt will no hang over Kenyans like a cloud unless they work to improve productivity. A number of investors are slowly losing confidence in the country, and this is likely to affect Kenya from achieving its Vision 2030 goals. Julie Owino, KTN News.
Well, taking stock indeed of Vision 2030. Well, let's take you to Likoni now, where Trapos Limited, the developer of the upcoming Likoni Cable Express public-private partnership project, has entered into a memorandum of understanding with CNC Construction Limited, appointing them as the lead project contractor. Well, CNC Construction is a renowned international contractor with a global footprint and vast experience in infrastructure asset development. The MOU paves the way for construction works of the 5.8 billion shilling Likoni cable car transport project, where Gerald Wigai Chege, the Group Executive Director of Finance and Operations for Trapos Limited, says that the selection of CNC Construction Limited was based upon its unique business model, proven expertise in innovative thinking, impressive track record, and vast large-scale project construction and cost management portfolio. Well, the addition of CNC Construction to the Likoni Cable Express project rounds out a team that also includes Doppler Garaventa, the world's largest provider of aerial cable technology, ensuring that the development will be built to the most stringent international standards possible. While the Likoni Cable Car project aims to ease congestion at the busy Likoni channel, where 350,000 commuters cross daily. Well, a lot to expect there for the residents of Mombasa who continue to use the Kenya ferry. Well, the project is envisioned to be finished within 2 years. Moving on, Tourism and Wildlife Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala has presided over the translocation of 3 black rhinos from the Nairobi National Park to Savo East. The event, which kicked off at the KWS headquarters, was a spectacular event. Let's take a look at that.
1980s till now, when the figures were down to 16,000.
Well, it is indeed a major milestone for the reproduction of rhinos in Kenya. Well, a man in Nakuru has been sentenced to 3 years imprisonment with an alternative of a fine of 250,000 shillings after he was caught skinning a cat to sell its meat for human consumption. James Mukangi Kimani pleaded guilty to an offense of slaughtering a cat in a manner that is deceptive to the consumers.
Cat that would later act as exhibit in court, the cat he was just about to make a snack out of for unsuspecting buyers in Nakuru town, James Mukangi Kimani is escorted by police to the cells before being arraigned in court. His charges: slaughtering an animal in a manner that is deceptive as regards to its character, nature, value, substance, quality or merit, in contrary to Food, Drugs and Chemical Substance Act, which is punishable by law. He pleaded guilty before Magistrate Wakumile. Mukangi is said to have been found slaughtering the cat as meat at around 1:30 p.m. on Sunday in a manner that is deceptive, as the consumers had no knowledge whatsoever of the type of meat that they were consuming. He faced a second count of slaughtering an animal in an undesignated place, contrary to regulations of the Meat Control Act. The court was told that the incident had caused depression and mental torture among consumers for eating cat meat. However, in mitigation, the accused said that he was framed up and had no intention of hurting anyone. Akisa Wandera, KTN News.
Indeed, quite astonishing developments there. And East Africa Portland Cement Company has come under fire from area leaders following the layoff of 400 workers. Kajiado East Member of Parliament Perez Tobiko has faulted the company's move, stating that she will ask the Trade Committee in Parliament to probe the company's books of accounts. While the cement manufacturer reported a huge loss in the last financial year and says the retrenchment is part of the board's strategy to stay afloat.
Sisi kampuni yenye tegemeo ya watu wa Kajiado imekuwa ni East African Portland Cement. Tunaelewana? Lakini sahi wameendelea kutoa watu kwa kazi, wengine sahi kama 400 wamepewa mabarua ya kuachishwa kazi. na hatuwezi kubali kama Portland inaendelea kuchukua raw materials kutoka kwetu.
Tuna laani kitendo ambayo imefanyika juzi, watu 400 walifutwa bila kuwa na sababu, na bado tunaongea na national government. Tunaomba waingilie kati, kwa sababu kuachisha watu 400 kazi, hiyo ni kuonyesha kwamba serikali hawajali wananchi.
Well, the Lake Region Economic Bloc Chairman Wycliffe Oparanya has addressed the Homa Bay County Assembly on the need to pass the Lake Region Economic Bloc Bill. This follows claims that Homa Bay County Assembly has not set aside funds in its budget for the establishment of the LREB Bank, thus negating the gains made so far. Oparanya has also called on the local leaders to strategize well in order to effectively domesticate the Big Four agenda.
Remember that there are other regional blocks in other areas at the coast. We've divided, we have 2 coast, there is one, the northeastern, there is another one. So already other regions are moving, but I think as we are motivated better than most of them. And I feel that with your support, we will even move faster. We have come up with a bill. Already the executive has signed an agreement, a general agreement of coming together. But we need that particular agreement backed by a Likoni document, and that's why we have come up with a bill. And this bill, we have dispatched them to the respective county assemblies so that they can also pass them. As they pass them, we have provided if 6 county assemblies are able to pass, and then we will be able to move now to operationalize other institutions within the Lake Region Economic Bloc. So I'm sure that if there is a bill before you, or if it's not before you, it will become. So the most critical document that now we have is the agreement signed by the governor on 26 March 2018, or if he was not there, it is somewhere for him to sign. That binds you as a county to be part of the region.
Well, a lot of talk around the Lake Region Bank, which sort of offers a lot of alternatives for the common man on the ground when it comes to accessing cheap credit. Well, Bungoma County Secretary and Accounting Officer Juma Matsanza and 7 other county officials have been convicted of corruption in the purchase of alleged carcinogenic wheelbarrows at an exaggerated cost of 109,320 shillings each. The 8 officials before Bildad Ochieng, sitting in the Kakamega Anti-Corruption Court, were found guilty of offences including violation of procurement laws. While the officials are John Juma Matsanza, Ayub Tuvaka China, Howard Lugadilu, Oscar Onyango Ojwang, Arlington Shikuku Omusheni, Christine Kagonya Mulanda, Jacqueline Nanjala Namukali, and Ruben Cheriot Ruto. Matsanza was ordered to pay a fine of 400,000 or 2 years in jail in default, and the others were ordered to pay a fine of 300,000 each or 1.5 years in jail for default.
Cost effectiveness for exam services be fair, transparent, equitable, and an evaluation be fast undertaken, and only after.
Interesting developments there. And it will now be tougher to transact amounts of 1 million and above as banks tighten regulations governing the transfer of funds. These particular rules are set to curb illicit financial flows such as proceeds of corruption or money laundering. In a circular to members, the Kenya Bankers Association has moved to self-regulate, issuing new guidelines that will see different new levels of approval for various incrementally graduated transactions. To move 1 million shillings and above, one will require approval by a bank manager, with amounts of 20 million and above needing approval from a head of banking or a bank director. Amounts of between 10 and 20 million will require senior manager approval. A 3-day notice and approval period is also required for amounts of over 20 million.